Hey guys, what's up? This is Panzer Dragon, a challenger player in North America, and today we're doing the top 10 best junglers for solo queue in patch 4.20. Now you may be wondering why we aren't doing the other roles. It's because the other roles are generally going to be the same right now, and also I haven't been really looking into other roles as much as I have been looking into the jungle. And we are also going to do the top 10 instead of a top 5 since the jungle meta has changed so much and you guys want a lot of variety, so I thought it'd be nice to do the top 10. And with all that being said, let's get started. So at number 10 we do have Vi. So right now I do feel like Vi is pretty good. She can either go Juggernaut or Warrior and be useful. Like if she's ahead she can carry games with Warrior, and if she's behind she can be the team tank. And her ganks are still powerful while having some great base damage. She also has a shield to help her, not take as much damage in the jungle. And she does have that AoE clears, so it's pretty good. And also she was a decent jungler in season 4, so expect her to be pretty decent. The only thing I don't like about her is how she doesn't have any sustain. The only protection she has is her shield, but other than that she has to rely on Trailblazer, pots, and just getting health from killing the creeps. Next up at number 9 is Jarvan. Now Jarvan has been one of my favorite junglers in season 4, and I always use him if I want to win a game. But in this season, since the Spirit Stone was removed and sustain is highly valued in the new jungle, I don't feel like he's as good as other junglers right now, but I do feel like since he is a really good jungler in season 4, he should be on this tier list, and he's also, decent in the new jungle. I mean, he still has his base attributes, being a really good initiator with his ultimate, having a lot of CC and armor penetration with his EQ combo, and he has his E to give him some armor plus his W to give him some shields for reducing the damage taken by the jungle camps. The great thing about Jarvan is he's still useful when he's behind and even more useful when he's ahead, and even though the jungle is more oriented to sustain jungles, he's still good. And at number 8 we do have Lee Sin. So Lee Sin has been nerfed 1,000 times, otherwise he'd be higher in this tier list. But aside from those nerfs, he can control the early game, being Lee Sin, having that early game damage, while also having pretty decent sustain with that W giving the spell vamp plus the lifesteal. And as you guys know, if Lee Sin does fall behind in the early game, he kind of becomes useless and not that useful mid game and late game. But it kind of fixes a bit because he can get the Juggernaut if he does fall behind to be that tank for his team. And like I said previously in a bunch of other tier lists, only play him if you're a really good Lee Sin. He's a high skill cap champion, so if you aren't playing him to his fullest potential, well, you're better off playing someone a bit easier. But other than that, if you're really good at him, go for it, and build the warrior if you're gonna carry. And at number 7 we do have Shaco. So in the new jungle where the jungle camps are harder, Shaco can use his boxes to eliminate the threat from taking so much damage. Shaco is one of those guys who can have a really fast gank because of his boxes, which do a lot of damage when you stack them up at the beginning of the game. And so in the very early game, this is where he strikes a huge threat since most junglers have to back after their first clear, while Shaco can gank and cause that early game pressure. He also doesn't take a lot of damage from the camp since he has the box and he can micro the aggro between him and the box, so he shouldn't take a lot of damage, so it's really good for him. His ganks are also really good since he does have that burst with the ignite plus the Q plus the E and the rest. And if you are doing the enemy jungler, well, you have the advantage since you're probably going to take ignite. So you are a pretty good duelist and you can even go split pushing if you want to. Now some might say that he has a really bad mid game late game, and some might say that he's pretty good mid and late since he can split push. I don't really know since I'm not a big Shaco player, but what I do know is I got my ass kicked by a Shaco before, and I do think that he's pretty good right now. Next up is Wukong at number 6. So why do I feel like Wukong is better right now than most champions? Just because he's like all around consistent and pretty good, especially if he's behind he can go Juggernaut and be the team tank while having a lot of base damage, or if he's ahead he can go Warrior and have a bigger damage on his combo. But most of the times I will go Juggernaut since it's actually really good on him and probably better than Warrior since you do need a team tank. And he was actually better with the Spirit of the Ancient Golem before they nerfed it and changed it a bit, where it had 500 hit point and the tenacity. Now you guys might be thinking, Wukong doesn't have sustain. I beg to differ since his decoy can tank the minions for about 1.5 seconds, and after that 1.5 seconds you should be done the camp already. He also has a really strong mid game and late game, so there's that. But his early game and his first few clears are pretty bad since he doesn't have enough damage to take out the enemies before they get to him. But once you're around level 6, it's all good. And at number 5 is Nunu. So with the increased spawn times, counter jungling is really effective when you do take that camp, and who better to counter jungle than Nunu? He also has really good objective control, and since Dragon is really important in the early game, he can control that, and he can also take the Scuttle Crab pretty fast too with his consume. He also makes your AD carry into a super AD carry by giving him that movement speed plus attack speed buff. He also has really good peel with his Ice Blast and his ultimate, and I guess the only thing you can say that's bad about him is that his base damage is pretty low. He only has 2 spells that do damage, which is his ultimate and his E. And like, I guess you can say his ultimate does damage, but that's only if you get the full channel. And you know, E does have really good base damage, but that's his only spell, and it does have like a pretty long cooldown, so it's not the best damaging spell. Other than that, he's pretty good. At number 4 is going to be Kayle. Now, I guess you guys can say Kayle is a weird pick here. Like, you probably haven't been seeing her much, but in my opinion, I think she's a really good jungler since she can go Devour, and Devour is a really good DPS item. And since her main source of damage is auto attacks, she's probably going to proc her magic damage from Devour a lot. She also has really good ganks with her Q and E, you know, the burst damage and sustain damage. And in the jungle, she does have her sustain with her W, but on top of that, she is also ranged, so she can kite the jungle creeps and take not a lot of damage. And of course, her ultimate can be game changing when you put it on the right person at the right time. And like I said previously, you know, her main source of damage is auto attacks. Well, when you get the Devour plus Nashor's Tooth, you're going to have about 2.0 attack speed, and that's going to be a lot of damage in teamfight. The only thing I don't like about her is that her E-AP ratio got nerfed, and she doesn't have the biggest base damage, and she actually kind of needs items, so she falls behind. Then the only thing that she has is her W and her R. So next 3 jungles I'm going to be explaining are basically the gods of this new jungle, so do keep that in mind. And at number 3, we do have Pantheon. So you might be wondering, why is Pantheon really strong right now? I actually have some answers on why I think Pantheon is so strong right now. First off, the new jungle hurts and you need sustain or Pantheon's passive to nullify some of the damage. So Pantheon doesn't actually take a lot of damage in the jungle. He can also solo Dragon at level 2 and get that resource for his team. The second reason why I think Pantheon is so strong is because of the new Elder Lizard or the Warrior Enchantment. This gives 45 AD and 10 armor penetration, as opposed to 35 AD and true damage. The reason this is so much better is because Pantheon has really high AD ratios, and he also has really strong base damage, so he does make use of the armor penetration. And also is vastly increased once he gets that Brutalizer. This means his early to mid game skirmishes are really strong since he has a lot of damage with him, and he's just really strong with the Warrior Enchantment plus Brutalizer. So that's the reason why I think he deserves the top 3. At number 2 is going to be Fiddlesticks. So Fiddlesticks has really high sustain, which is key to the new jungle, and he was also a really good jungler in season 4. So if you combine the new jungle, you know, leaning towards sustain, plus good junglers from the old jungle, it's gonna kind of lead up to Fiddlesticks. You know, he's really good all throughout the game. His ultimate is really game changing since it can turn a team fight around into his favor. His ganks are terrifying if he ever gets onto you since he does a lot of damage plus really good CC. And he doesn't really need the Trailblazer, he can actually use the Stalkers for even more CC. So I mean, this jungle has really improved them, and since he was already a good jungler, he really deserves to be in the top 3. And at number 1 is Warwick. Okay, so no big surprise here, but I think you guys know the reason why. Skirmisher Saber gives him true damage with his ultimate. You know, activating a Skirmisher Saber and then ulting onto your opponent will literally destroy them hard, especially if you have the Devour, that's even more magic damage. And speaking of which, it was really hard to get the Fatal Flare in season 4 for Warwick, as you did have to wait until around 30 minutes to actually get it since his clears were really not the best. But now you can actually just straight up buy it and you'll have the Devour or 40 magic damage at 10 minutes. And Warwick is also a really high sustain jungler while also being a really easy jungler to play. He's also really tanky from the sustain from his R, his Q, and his passive, and he scales really well into the mid/late game. The only downside for Warwick in season 5 is that Quicksilver Sash is cheaper in the season 5. So do expect the enemy team to get that item if you are Warwick. But other than that, he's probably the best jungler in season 5 right now. Until the Skirmisher Saber gets nerfed, then it'll probably be Pantheon or Fiddlesticks at number 2 and 1. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There will probably be no tier list for the other roles since I don't feel like I need to. and like the meta for those lanes haven't really changed that much. You know, pick the strong champions, Lucian, Corki, Syndra, Zed, and Rumble and Aurelia, while also picking Janna for support. But for patch 4.21 or the next patch, I'll be sure to get a tier list for each of those roles for you guys so that I'm happy and you guys are happy and basically everyone's happy. If you guys do want to see the 4.19 patch tier list for all roles, just click this annotation or look in the description below. Just click that video and you'll be sure to find what you need. Anyways, I am Panzer Dragon, a challenger player in NA, and I will see you guys next time.